One popular word nowadays is the word disconnect. It is not hard to understand what it is, so please do not worry about getting a nosebleed, as most Filipinos believe they will get if they hear an unfamiliar word. There is disconnect between the government and the people. Legislators, senators, and congressmen and local executives love to speak of their constituents. They speak endlessly about their needs and concerns, especially during the days nearing the elections. There is disconnect between us priests and the people in the rural areas. There is disconnect between what sociologists refer to as the popular culture and the dominant culture in the Philippines. For one, the dominant culture speak in English primarily, while the popular culture speak primarily in Tagalog or the vernacular, with Cebuano actually having the most number of speakers in the country. There is disconnect between the courses offered by most universities and colleges and the actual needs of the companies in the workforce. But the most serious disconnect above everything else is what is referred to in the readings of today. The first and third readings speak about love for God, but love for God cannot afford to have a disconnect. The mind cannot remain far and disconnected from God. The heart cannot be far from the concerns of God. And one's whole strength cannot be focused on goals that have nothing to do with God. The commandment is clear enough. Love the Lord your God with all your strength, with all your mind, and with all your heart. You and I know that this is very hard to do. We claim to love God, but we really love our leisure and Facebook time more than Him. When it comes to making a choice for God in prayer and checking our PM boxes and our walls for the latest likes and the most recent posts, God is not the all-time favorite. Other concerns win over God big time. The runaway abuse of the earth happening everywhere is a prime example of this disconnect. How else does one explain the fact that we now use the equivalent of 1.5 planets' resources? How else can we make sense of the fact that in Philippine setting alone, there is less now than 15 million hectares of primary growth forests left, with the Sierra Madre and the Cordilleras now practically unable to stem the raging winds and destructive torrents of typhoons that seem to be getting more and more powerful every year. We need to bridge this disconnect, and we are not called to do a simple reforestation. It is simply enough. It is enough simply to love God and neighbor with all one's heart, with all one's mind, with all one's strength. No ifs, no buts. No wait first and hold on a second. Walang labis, walang hulang. Be a connector, be a bridge maker, and in your own little way, narrow the gap between theory and practice, between fact and fiction, between wishful thinking and willful living. Now, not later. Today, not tomorrow. And this, my dear friends, is your kalakbay at katoto in this week's episode of Puso sa Puso, saying thank you and God bless you.